Troy Escalade Jackson was a force to be reckoned with. At 6 feet 10 inches tall and 500 pounds at his peak, this street ball player was a powerhouse and a half. This is the 500-pound monster that NBA players fear. But before we begin, please leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this in the future. Born on January the 11th in 1973 in Queens, New York, Troy Jackson is a younger brother of retired NBA player Mark Jackson and the youngest of 6. Troy started playing basketball when he was 10 years old, playing in Rucker Park as his favorite pastime. His brother Mark Jackson was drafted into the NBA when Troy was 14 years old. Troy played basketball for the Hills East High School team in high school, weighing in at nearly 500 pounds as a senior. While he was talented on the high school court, it was the way he played recreationally at Rucker Park that caught the eye of Wallace Community College coach Bill Hughley. Instead of focusing on getting NBA advice, preparing for the NBA draft of his choice, or prepping NBA-style workout routines like most people who aspire to be in the NBA do, Troy decided he wanted to put on a show when he played instead. It was this style of play and his impressive size that drew Hughley's eye to him. Hughley's scouting and Troy Jackson's impressive basketball style earned him a full-ride scholarship to Wallace Community College in Selma, Alabama. Troy felt like there was nothing else he could do in life but go into the NBA and play basketball for the Wallace Community College team. He was able to receive All-Regions honor by the time he was a sophomore and exceeded everyone's expectations. In an interview, Troy stated, "People wonder how I play at 500 pounds, but it just feels natural to me." He appeared to have no concern for the defenders that surrounded him, which drew NBA scouts' attention. His attitude and play style solidified his spot in the future NBA roster, everyone assumed. After his sophomore year at Wallace Community College, he was approached with an offer for a full-ride scholarship to the University of Louisville to play basketball for them. However, this was not without some intense stipulations that Jackson had to make some serious lifestyle changes. To get the scholarship, he had to drop a lot of the weight that he had put on and figure out how to play a more structured basketball style for the team. He was put on an incredibly strict diet and dropped 363 pounds in the University of Louisville days. At the University of Louisville, after dropping nearly 200 pounds, Troy didn't have nearly the amount of weight that he was used to using to his advantage. His score averages dropped to 3 points per game and 1.6 rebounds per game. However, he only played in 20 games for the team over a 2-year period. He got a bachelor's degree in communication from the University of Louisville, but not quite the basketball experience he wanted. When he graduated, Jackson regained his weight and found himself a spot within the Harlem Globetrotters. He only played with the Globetrotters for a short time, but he certainly drew attention to himself. Relatively close to Rucker Park, a new sports and athletic wear company called AND1 started to form, and they were new. AND1 was looking for any way to advertise their product and get players to model their apparel. But who? Their prayers had been answered when they were delivered a tape of the local street ball scene and saw Jackson's performance. In learning about New York street ball's wide appeal, AND1 launched their traveling street ball exhibition, the AND1 Mixtape Tour. They created seasonal rosters of players for their tour and sold quite a large amount of street ball mixtapes and their sports equipment. One of their tours was able to be shown on television, airing on ESPN in the early 2000s. In a stroke of luck, it was the same tour that Jackson was playing in as he joined the AND1 tour in 2002. His impact on the street ball game and his unique play style gathered quite a bit of attention for Jackson. He gained incredible popularity and a large number of fans almost instantaneously. His reputation as the lovable giant cemented his place as a staple of future AND1 tours. And while playing on the tour, Jackson met fellow street baller player Grayson Boucher, better known on YouTube as The Professor. His nickname was Escalade, and when asked, he said it was a reference to the Cadillac SUV. With Troy's presence in the tour, AND1 expanded outside of New York with Miami, DC, and Philadelphia locations. Eventually, they would expand nationwide. Fans would completely fill stadiums and buy every ticket just to see Troy Escalade Jackson in play. His peak popularity came in 2005 when he made the cover of Sports Illustrated along with The Professor. This was huge, as covers of Sports Illustrated was strictly reserved for legendary players. It looks like Jackson and the Professor certainly made their marks on the street ball and general basketball world with that cover. When the Herald Sun started asking teammates about Escalade, one particular member named Antoine Eighth Wonder Scott said, "He's a big guy, but he can play." Jackson was known for being able to entertain while he played, showing off while showing some great basketball skills on his part. Jackson was the biggest recorded player for basketball at the time and seriously impressed anyone who could see him play.
How long you been playing on the N1 crew?
It's my 5th year.
Yeah? Can you tell us a little bit about the video game that you guys just came out with this year?
The video game was incredible. It's the only video game ever, basketball game with a story mode. You can create your own character. Everything that you watch on the mixtapes and on the TV show, you can do in the game. The same way Professor and Spider won the contest, you can win the contest.
Jackson's reputation preceded him, and he spent years building up his reputation of being the lovable giant. He was more well-known than some NBA players at the height of his streetball career, and fans absolutely adored him. He was so recognizable that he could walk into clubs and immediately get the VIP treatment. Certain NBA players couldn't even get that. It just wasn't his size or skill that people loved about him. He had a kind personality that helped people just adore him. He was generally a lovable guy, and anyone who met him couldn't help but like him. However, after a few years, it became clear to a few players, namely the Professor, that Jackson's weight was no longer helping him like it used to. The Professor tried to help Jackson keep the weight that he had lost off, but Jackson would gain it right back fast. Going to his brother Mark Jackson, Mark wasn't surprised that Escalade wasn't interested in losing weight and that he had become such a big part of basketball's success story. After all, his entire persona was the lovable giant. The two accepted that Troy just wasn't interested in losing the weight that had become such a staple of his personality. However, after years of continuing to play and abuse his body, tragedy struck. In 2011, in the middle of promoting a streetball tour, Troy Escalade Jackson unexpectedly died of hypertensive heart disease in his sleep. He was only 38 years old and had just passed his physical to play in the tour. His sudden death was shocking, and the sport world mourned the loss of one of the best streetball players they had ever seen. He followed his dreams and he did what he loved up until his unfortunate passing. His only desire while playing was to entertain the crowds, and his large number of fans tell us that he did just that. So, what do you think? Was Escalade Jackson a force to be reckoned with? Was he deserving of the title, the monster NBA players fear? Let us know down in the comments below. And remember to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more content like this in the future. I'm Mickey V. This is Mr. Sports, and we'll see you next time.